With this piece that you see in front here, I'm referring to something that I have done in 1964 when I was 24 years old. The reason why this is a starting point for my exhibition is that it sort of symbolizes, characterizes what I was up to then and what I'm still following on with my exhibition now, which refers to work from the last 5 years. Now, this rotating chest of drawers has all the magic that you can move it outwards. So you can take in a lot of things. You open up, you see the world full of possibilities. The whole thing is like a breathing. It's like an interchange of something very solid. It's like a life pump, and then it goes out, opens up, and breathes in and out and in and out. And that is basically what my art tries to do. I did a number of pictures on dancing because I went to a dance camp. The central activity of this dance camp was circle dancing. But what caught my eye is that people who did these circle dances were actually dressing up, colorful. And when I saw them dancing, I picked up on the colors and the shapes. But as I cut this out of thin wood, the offcuts became important to me because they had a shape that interested me. So I put the colors of what I observed onto these shapes and made a circle representing the irregularity and openness of the circle dancing, because everybody was allowed in. It wasn't a very structured process. It followed a certain rule and a certain music, but it was free and open. On my way back from dance camp, I came across Frisian cows. I became aware of their very odd shapes. It is almost like a given joke when you see it and when you notice it and when you just concentrate on that. And therefore, I came up with a picture on this particular phenomena. I was inspired by a tablecloth that was given to my wife by the person who decorated this cloth with leaves in a very colorful and very original way. I took this theme up and went through our garden, replaced the leaves of this tablecloth with the leaves of our garden, and cut these shapes out. As I'm working a lot with plywood, very thin plywood, and colored it and put it onto a background, and then wasn't quite content, it wasn't quite colorful enough, and put a plastic coating over it, but cut out the leaf shapes within this coating. So the coating appears to be like a veil that you look through and under in order to discover the beauty behind. At home, we hang our washing up for drying on a construction that we can heave into the top of our room. And as the washing hangs there, it is very theatrical and also very colorful. It always changes, and it can be changed. And for me, that was an inspiration for separating colors out and hang them on, as this washing does, but on plain panels. Not only that, I painted the panels from both sides so that you can interchange these panels as the audience. That is an interactive act. You kind of be the artist yourself almost, and imagine what it is to make a choice, a color choice. I'm a lot inspired by journeys, and when I went to Scotland, I was fascinated by lakes, tarns, holes, lochs, blackouts. And I concentrated on that part within the landscape which had the most breaks, and I had this piece of watercolor paper that I then cut up exactly as it is at this particular section, and made a watercolor which was a challenge for me to do in the most meticulous way, using every little bit of water as it dries out to add on to the next in order to reconstruct the kind of intricacy and the interest that I have in the color, which is transparent and translucent. And then in the end, I tried to compare that to the photos that I had. I cut out certain sections of the photos, compared them to what I had painted, and discovered that there is a familiarity, that it actually goes together quite well. Another thing that came from a journey was that I went to South Turkey, and it was on the beach, and I just wanted to enter the water, and I saw the reflections in the waves. So I took my iPhone and made photos of it. This inspired me to cut similar shapes than what these waves had created into material. I happened to have material around, but through a workshop I had used very cheap material, and I'm very much interested in recycling and so on. So I had some car wash cloth, which I then used and cut up and tried to recreate these kind of waves to the extent that the cloth would almost disintegrate, because I tried to portray a sort of fragility and refinement that has a breaking point, is almost so tactile that you don't even want to look at it anymore, because you can't, because it falls apart. Living in Shropshire, and in our area particularly, which is a border country area, the whole winter is marked by wonderful trees, and they stand out with their structure. And when I look into them, I'm always fascinated by certain shapes that come towards me and suggest something. You could almost go into fantasies of what is suggested, but you could almost take the tree shapes as something that could happen in a church in a glass window. These structures inspire me. And because of that, I made a lot of photos, black and white photos. I had to make them really black and white and put them onto either transparent or white shapes, and then cut out those bits that I had looked at. And these cut-out pieces are very precious. They suddenly become something like a meal that you can look at and eat with your eye. And if you place these shapes behind each other, you can move them around, you can interact with them, you can make an almost musical score out of them. And that's what I try to do here. I like to interact with people, I like to exchange my experience with people. Therefore, almost all my work is to a certain extent interactive. People can move in, can change things around. So in a way, when you usually go into a gallery, you see things for a very short time. Sometimes it's 3 seconds. If I hold people for perhaps 7 seconds, I will be happy, just to follow my own for a while.